This is episode 239 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Control and Compound Financial. They teach real estate investors how to multiply their wealth using infinite banking strategies. For a complimentary wealth coaching session or to learn more, visit www.controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines. Welcome back to the podcast. Today I've got one of my business partners, Jacob Campagnaro, on the show. This is his third time appearing on the show. He was on episode 2, episode 132, I believe, and then now again on episode 239. And today we were talking about business building. Jacob's a very successful top performer realtor within his real estate team at REC, which is like a 100-person plus team. So not a small task to be doing so well. He's a commercial focused realtor as well as a real estate investor. So we're invested together on the Grotto Getaway Maple Ridge Camp project, as well as our Neptune's Hideaway project up in Tobermory. And today we kind of dug into that stuff. We dug into what makes for successful business building, consistency, discipline, mindset, and what's working in Ontario and what's not, what people are doing from a multifamily buying standpoint, which is Jacob's focus. So he's working with a lot of buyers who utilize the MLI Select CMHC program for 5 or more units, where you can get some really great amortizations, potentially even up to 50 years. You know, how that affects things and how that's able to potentially make deals work in today's market. So one more tool in the toolkit. And Jake and I, for those of you who don't know, we regularly do a show called REI Hot Seat on YouTube together. So that's a show where we go over deals that are available on the market, off-market deals, strategies about how to make deals work, market updates, things like that. So if you want to tune into the nitty-gritty, see numbers being crunched with screen shares and things like that, that's a video-only show that is available on YouTube at the moment. So I'll include the link to that in the description of this episode so that you have access to that too. Just before we jump into the episode, I want to remind you that we do host the GTA West REI Meetup monthly. Please make sure that you're in our private Facebook group so that you're notified when our next date is booked. It should be the third Thursday of the month, but make sure you confirm in the group itself. And please do all the things that help get this podcast out there, including like, subscribe, notification bell, comment, engage with us. Let us know what you want to know about. Let us know what you think of Jacob's story. He's a good guy to talk to, and I had a lot of fun with this episode. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Episode 239, here you go. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I've got my brother-in-law, Jacob Campagnaro, back on the show after a while. For the podcast anyway. We have another show that we host together, / your resident realtor on REI Hot Seat. Yeah. But this is a reunion on the podcast, and it's been over 100 episodes.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, last time you were talking about your Airbnb. The
Airstream.
Yeah, the Airstream.
We
talked about...
That was the catalyst to...
Yeah, the Airstream has since found its home on our campground that we own together. Mm-hmm. And we have our hospitality enterprise that we're building out. So this episode will be a bit different because we're just going to kind of talk shop, talk what we're up to.
Yeah.
But then you've sort of got your own unique circumstance in that you're a higher income earner, entrepreneur, realtor, who doesn't really have a lot of time for the active real estate investing business, which, I mean, so many of this audience don't. Yeah. Like, you know, they have their evenings and their weekends, but you're in the unique situation, which I found myself in much of my career. And that's like, you can always put more money into more time into your active business.
Well, and that's it, right? I think it's, and I don't disagree with you, but I think it is where you want your time spent, right? Yeah. Like, you know, I'm sure there's people out there that are just as busy as I am, but they're making time for active investing because that's what they want to do. And delegating,
right? Like building good teams.
Correct.
And, but I mean, what I wanted to get into today is like really what high level, like what is your thought about investing going forward for you?
Yeah.
Knowing, you know, what you've built a good thing in your real estate business as a realtor, you know, with a commercial focus. And we'll go into some of the stuff that you're looking for on that side of things. But then, you know, how do you see, you know, in the next 5 years looking for you as an investor of all that income that you're earning?
Yeah. No, it's a good question because I think there's a lot of resources for active investing. right?
Yeah.
You know, a lot
like
of the
burrs
podcasts. Yeah,
and flippers.
burrs. That's all you hear all the time. At least that's all I hear.
I mean, less so these days, but for sure,
Yeah,
still a thing.
So there's not as many resources for the passive investor. But yeah, to answer your question, Andrew, like it's been so I've been in real estate now for 6.5 years.
Yeah, give the recap, because some people won't have seen your previous episode. They don't know
so you can go back to what, episode 2, episode 1?
So there was like episode 2. I forgot about that. Yeah, so there was episode 2. I think it was episode 132. Yeah.
And we were just sitting in your basement drinking beer.
Yeah. Not in 132, but yeah.
No, number 2.
Yeah, number 2. Yeah, and then now again. But so back then, right around episode 2, you were pretty much just started. Like
that's just started real estate then. Right?
So that would have been
2000.
No, it was 2019. So you were.
Okay, I was already in it for a bit.
Yeah, you were in it for a bit.
No, because I started in 2000 and end of 2016, beginning of 17.
Okay,
that's when I started.
Yeah.
So what's that? 5 years? 6 years?
Yeah, 16 was 7 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. So it goes
so
quick.
Yeah, you were already with REC at that point, I think. Yeah. Okay. So we've got a little. So basically, Jake started doing some private lending, and then we talked about that the first time he came on. You know, that was sort of his intro to real estate investing, and then you bought a cottage. Yeah. Then we bought our resort together, and then you've been focusing on helping a lot of people basically buy multifamilies, do burrs, things like that. You're sort of the go-to for people I know if you want to buy multifamily buildings, because you're dealing with people who are doing like CMHC, MLI Select refinances for commercial multifamily, like sophisticated stuff that a lot of people don't know much about.
Yeah, it's always been. So just to recap, right? It's so started about 6 years ago. Like I said, been working on educating myself in commercial real estate, right? So I've always focused on what's the trend, what's happening, and how do I make it turnkey and streamlined. That's always been our process, right? You can ask any of our clients, and it's so when MLI Select came out, it came out on March 7th, funny enough, my birthday. So I remember that. I was like, okay. And before it came out, that was my main focus, because I was going to go, okay, this is going to be a big thing.
Like the CMHC.
The CMHC, the MLI Select stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I learned the ins and outs of it. I built the team. I found the mortgage broker. I found the engineer to go do the reports. And I basically built that team up so that the day it landed, the day it started, whatever you want to call it, we were able to then immediately start helping our clients with it. While other people were finding out about it through news and whatnot. And, you know, I was doing deals with MLI, and other people were still going, what's that? Right.
Yeah.
So that's just what I've personally been.
How many years has it been out?
Well, it came out only about a year and a half now.
Oh, okay. And then they just updated it.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's still fresh.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but CMHC was the thing before that too.
Oh, yeah.
People just didn't have all the little perks that that you can get with it, the 50-year amortization and all that stuff.
And it's interesting, because you ask different generations about CMHC, and they'll all have different opinions. Right? Like I know a lot of the older seasoned investors, like you talk to them and they go, oh, CMHC takes too long. Or like, you know, you have to give your right arm and your firstborn child, right? And it's I hear that all the time, and I'm like,
CMHC was a no-no. I mean, I know Carmen never liked it because she said it takes too long. They would cut back.
But I've heard it from so many people, right? Where like, you know, people that own like great buildings, and I'm like, hey, how come you don't go CMHC? And they're like, oh no, like it just takes way too long. Yeah, like they want too much, right? And I'm like, so
seems to work better on a refi.
It does work better on a refi, but the program has come a long way. They've hired more staff. It does take a while. I don't want to minimize it, but it is becoming a better program.
So high level recap for people who don't know what we're talking about. CMHC is a mortgage insurance government owned corporation that insures mortgages for the banks, so that the banks are willing to give you higher leverage, lower interest rates. So right now, longer amortizations. Otherwise, you're usually limited to 25 years. Well, now you can go up to 40 with CMHC. MLI Select even goes all the way up to 50. So deals that might not cash flow in today's market, knowing this might be that tool in your tool belt that can make a deal cash flow.
Yeah,
might be. It's worth having that tool as opposed to not having
that's
it.
it.
Yeah.
Right, that's it.
It's just one more tool, one more piece of education. You've got VTBs, you need to have all these things in your toolkit. And one of the big things I like about the show we do together is that we're talking about these tools. We're talking about how real deals are getting done or how you would do it, knowing this.
And I think it's
good.
opening it up to simplify these tools as well. Because a lot of, I talk with a lot of people, and I think last episode we did was VTB OPM. Right?
Yeah, we were talking. Yeah, on REI Hot Seat, we talked.
Right?
We talked about VTBs and how important they are, and they are, especially in today's market. Yeah, getting deals done. That's one of those important tools.
It's opening up those tools to people that may not have heard of them before, or simplifying, trying to make it a structured process.
Yeah,
and I find that's where people get bogged down a lot. Is I had a meeting with an investor of mine the other day. He's done a whole bunch. Like, he's not new, and he came to me and he's like, Jake, hey, like, confidentially, he's like, how do I do OPM?
Yeah.
Right. And so we had a whole lunch talking about it. And by the time we got out of the lunch, we simplified it. He actually texted me on the weekend. He goes, hey, man, I just went to an investor meetup. He goes, I got 4 people that are ready to invest with me because of my track record. And in a weekend, he raised X amount of money, whatever it may be. But it's just about simplifying those things.
Right.
So that's really what we focused our practice on.
Big thing is belief systems with that stuff too, like raising other people's money. Like, that, do you believe that you can go into a room and raise money from people? Like, I know people I'll talk to are just like, even in our sphere, the real estate side of things, like, oh, I can't do that. Like, who would lend to me? And then other people, we have a mutual acquaintance, a mutual friend that can, has shown incredible ability to just goes raise money from anyone.
Yep.
I think a good book on this is Money People Deal, Stefan Arneo's book. I would highly recommend people check that out. I had actually already sort of gone down this path before that book even came out, but it reiterates a lot of really good stuff. And it's available on Audible. So, key thing for me.
You got an affiliate program?
I wish. Yeah, that'd be great. But no, I think that's in our circles, like people, it's mostly Audible, right? Like people driving, like, I would like to read a book. It's just like, when? No. I don't do it as much as I used to.
I do a ton of Audible.
Yeah.
But yeah, just getting back to it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been our focus in a nutshell, right? And I'm not going to go down the road of our full plan, but that's been the last 7 years for me.
Yeah.
Focusing now this year, next year, the next 5 years, let's call it, is going to be growing the team, implementing systems, and having more time for myself to do some more active investing, perhaps.
Yeah, it's just a different kind of investing. Like, there is financial investing into your business building, but I mean, real estate's a business and you're business building. It's just, you're not building the real estate business. You're building a business that operates in real estate. And I think that's valuable. I'm sort of at that stage now too, where I'm building out my different stuff, the stuff around the podcast, of course, what we're doing with the camp, just really focusing on, hey, you can actually really generate a return from investing in people, investing in those type of assets, and driving your business that way, and then take what you get out of there, and then you don't need to invest it actively. So that was sort of where I was steering us, is like, obviously you're still fond of the private lending, earning a passive return. Obviously you can do more if you go active, but it doesn't hurt to have some of that passive too. Yeah.
And that's the big thing for me, is I've just been growing that passive lending database, that passive lending pot of money. Right. I've found that to be a great avenue for me personally. I can focus my time on the business. I can keep generating cash flow through the business, growing the business, investing in myself. That's really what I've been doing a ton of. Yes, I have some hard assets. I have a couple rentals in Southwestern Ontario. I have my cottage rental. We have the campground, which we'll talk about later. Yeah. But for me, the focusing on the real estate business has been probably my top priority. Yeah. Second to that is the passive lending, which for me now I'm in such a great spot because of the passive lending, right? And I talk to even to colleagues about this who make tremendous money, and I always see them struggling year over year when tax season comes around. They're like, oh man, I got to pay my bills, got to do this. And then, and I have conversations with them. I go, if you took a quarter of every paycheck and just put it into some sort of passive investment, my poison's passive lending, right? So giving it to, clients of mine who need capital, institutional private lending, whatever it may be. but I've been able to secure myself in a position now where my mortgage payments are covered, my car payments are covered. So that baseline stress, I guess you can call it, right? That, hey, I need to pay the bills this month, or I need to, whatever it may be, just get that covered. And this is what I talk to clients about all the time. And whether that's through active investing or passive investing, the big thing is you don't need to quit your job and retire within 1 year. Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And I preach this, and it's and everyone goes, why? That's negative. And I go, no, it's not negative. It's real. Right. And I said, but if you can own 2 really good properties and put some money to work passively, and you could pay your mortgage and pay your car, how much better of a position would you be in to now focus on quitting your job or retiring with real estate? Right. And I work with people every day that come to me, and the first thing they say is, I want to quit my job in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be. Yeah. And I always bring that back in and say, okay, well, let's get your bills paid first. Right. Yeah. Because the challenge is, and being in real estate and saying this is kind of contradictory, but like buying one building is not going to pay your bills.
No.
At least from my experience. If I'm wrong, tell me.
That's what I do want to talk to you about that today, is what you're seeing in the market and how these deals work. But now it seems like we've gone more and more towards a market where like you're breaking even on cash flow is like a win in Ontario right now. So there are those people who just, it's Ontario no matter what. They want to invest here, and that is what it is. So there's obviously still people who want to buy that. Are you seeing people doing better than that right now, or is it really just a break-even strategy, or you got to put down more?
No, there is cash flowing deals out there. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to be doom and gloom. We are putting deals together that are cash flowing. Now, are they cash flowing as well as they would have last year? No, but would we have gotten the same deal last year?
No, you're getting a better deal too. Yeah.
So it all depends on your crystal ball, what you're looking at. I'm setting my clients up for a home run in 2-3 years. Right. Because I expect the market to recover in 2-3 years. Right. Maybe longer, but let's call it 2-3 years. Right.
I mean, none of us know.
There's some people saying next year. There's some people saying 5 years. I'm going to split the difference and say 3 years. Right. Yeah. So we're buying, we're being very strategic. I'm not, and I'll be very honest, I'm not selling buildings every single day right now. Like, it is a waiting process. It is finding the right deal in this market. If we can find the right deal now, that cash flows lightly, breaks even, whatever it may be. But say we bought it at a 6 cap, say we bought it at under 100 a door, right? Off of somebody that needs to sell these buildings, then, if you can hang on to that and lock your rate in now with CMHC or whatever you may do, in 3, 4, 5 years, even if it is a 5-year play. Yeah. So in 3-4 years, if, when the market recovers, and recovers from what is so arbitrary. So I don't want to get in the weeds with it.
Yeah, they still haven't broke it as far as I can see.
I know. And I don't want to, I really don't want to get in the weeds with that. But, even, and I hear this over and over again on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. But truly, if we can just give the market stability, and like, I don't talk to my clients and go, oh, the rates are coming down, we'll be back at 2%, don't worry. And I've heard that, and it scares me. That's a very scary thought, because I don't think it is. But if we can get stability, and what I mean by stability is simply just, if the bank comes out, and I know they keep coming out with statements and saying, oh, we're going to hold rates, and then they crank them up.
You can't believe anything they say.
No, but true stability. Give me true stability in the market, and I believe that all these buildings, the value will come back up.
Yeah, the values are also going to sort of normalize with the market. We're going to have rents adjust, everything's going to adjust, come into an equilibrium. But the problem is it takes time. Like, you shake up one of those snow globes, it takes time for everything to settle back down.
Exactly.
And I think that's the effect of all these interest rate hikes. That's shaking the snow globe. Now we got to figure out where everything settles.
And that's it. That's what I'm saying. In 3 years, I don't expect rates to be at 2%. I expect them to be stabilized. Even if that is at 6% stabilized, right? Like, and that's the way we're investing right now with our clients. Is I'm always saying, hey, if we can find a deal at a 6, 7, 8% interest rate.
Yeah. So I think it is more likely that we're gonna have just probably just going to end up settling somewhere around the 5 to 6, but who knows what happens in the meantime. It also depends on a lot of factors, which I can't predict. I can see like it seems very much like, politicians aren't, losing too much sleep over all of this. So they're totally fine with the higher rates. It depends on how much they're going to spend, how much more deficit spending we have. But since we can't predict that, you're going to want to really look to find real estate that you have a vision for. You can see how it could work. And of course, like for me, I can never sacrifice cash flow in the short run either. There has to be something there. And most importantly, a realistic estimate of expenses so that I know that even if my worst case scenario happens, I'm still all right. I'm still not paying that building.
No, and that's very key. What you just said there is that you're not going to sacrifice cash flow now. And I would never expect anybody to. Every deal we've put together since rates have started climbing, cash flows.
Yeah, right. And that's the key. Hi, friends. I just wanted to take a moment away from the episode to tell you about my brand new structured coaching program. This is the first time I've ever offered a structured coaching program where we'll have regular meetings in addition to an intro call to go through what your goals are and help you get on a plan to achieve those goals within real estate. So if you've followed me for some time and you feel that I would be a fit for you to help you achieve your goals in real estate based on my skill set, based on the topics we cover on this show, I encourage you to head over to my website, andrew-hines.com/coaching, and fill out the questionnaire so that we can schedule a call and figure out if it's a fit for us to work together. Let's face it, most people could benefit from a second set of eyes and ears going over their strategies, different deals that they're looking at, and helping to springboard ideas back and forth. This is a program that's exactly for that. So if you're looking to build confidence in what you're doing in real estate investing and get very clear on what it is you're trying to accomplish, this might just be the program for you. Take a moment, fill out that questionnaire, and let's schedule a chat.
How much cash flow, what's your cash on cash return? That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, the cash on cash return can hurt, but that's based on a lot of speculation too, right? Because I've always built in a little bit of appreciation. Are we 2%? Are we 3%? Yeah. The interest rates helped us. We were paying down pretty good. Yeah. Not the same anymore. So yeah, cash on cash can look a little rough these days. Yep. And overall return can look rough. Because again, if we don't know where to anticipate values going to on these buildings, it changes things. Yeah.
And again, you got to believe in the market you're investing in. You got to if you don't believe in the Ontario market right now, then don't invest in Ontario. Yeah. Go to the States, go to Alberta, go to New Brunswick. A
lot of people are doing those three things, right? There are some people who are still buying in Ontario, but then there are people looking elsewhere too.
A ton. Yeah. Right. But you just got to understand those markets as well. Don't just flock to pick a state, insert here, because that's what everybody else is doing. Like, you truly have to understand these markets. And I did this I ran a little seminar, an educational seminar the other day, a couple months ago. And we looked at Alberta, right? And I simply just brought out the cap rate reports for the last 10 years. And I said, look at the cap rate trends for Alberta versus Ontario. Ontario's this nice stable line, right? It's not going up, coming down, but and then you look at Alberta and the thing was
up, down, up, down. Yeah, right? It's a volatile market comparatively. So,
just know the market you're investing in. And this is what I preach to everybody I work with, right? Yeah. Is whether it's in development or whatever, like, understand the market. 100%. Don't follow the masses. Just find out what works for yourself and go research it.
Okay, so Jake, one of the things I wanted to dig in with you, because we shouldn't graze over it. I mean, the business building, entrepreneurial side of things, I saw you go into being a realtor. Initially, you were kind of doing, hey, we'll do homes, we'll do whatever. And then you really focused in on the commercial. Yeah. You head up REC commercial, so that they're a team under Royal LePage. You're like the sole commercial guy. And one of the really awesome parts of that was now I had somebody I could ask all those questions to. Yeah. Like, Jake, what do you do in this scenario, or how do you finance this, and all that, technical knowledge, where to me, like, we were talking about CMHC and stuff, like, that was like a unicorn. Like, I never knew anybody who was doing CMHC deals. Yeah. It became very popular with MLI Select. Yeah. So now I know other people talking about it and doing it. But what do you attribute when you look back at this? Because most people who jump into being a realtor don't reach the level of success, and I'm not going to give specific stuff, you can tell as much as you want, but I mean, they don't reach the level of success that you've reached. You're a top performer on that team, one of the top performers, right? Mm-hmm. Again, we won't get too specific, but knowing that, how do you attribute that success? Like, how does that happen? What makes you different than other people in your approach?
Yeah.
Is it a mindset thing?
You want the generic response?
No, like I want what you actually think it is.
Yeah. Well, a couple of different things. I don't think it's one singular item. For me, it's since day one, I take my job very seriously, maybe too seriously sometimes, which you'll see. Like, I'm in the office 8 a.m. to probably about 6:30, 7 p.m. 5 days a week, without fail, right? So for me, it's about routine. So I wake up in the morning, I do my same routine, I'm in the office. And I don't leave the office till, again, 6, 7, depends on what's going on in my life at that point. But so that's right there. It's just it's that dedication to being in the office or being somewhere where this is work. The office is work for me.
Yeah.
Right. So I always found that I've always gone in. And it's just been, so if I'm sitting at my desk and I find myself having spare minute, I'm going to say, okay, what can I do to fill this minute with something productive? Right? Because I'm not going to go home and I'm not sitting here watching YouTube videos. So what are we doing? Right. So that's something that kind of started off. I always did that from day one, is just get in the office. And I found that because I did have those spare moments when I started out. I had an hour going, okay.
Yeah, what do I do now?
I've done my call, I've done this, I've done that. And I'll find something to do. I'll make another call.
Yeah.
I'll go just search up who's buying real estate and call them, right? Like, call realtors, right? It doesn't even have to be cold calls. It's just, okay, I gotta call a realtor down the block and have a chat with them. Yeah. Right. And I know you and I talked about this stuff in the past, but
yeah, I remember when you were starting out, like that, you were going through what everyone goes through, is like, oh, what do I do now? I'm waiting for the phone to ring.
But I think it's what you do in that I don't know what to do right now moment separates you, because we've had a lot of people come through the doors, and I've seen a lot of realtors, and when they have that free time, they go, okay, I'm gonna go to the mall. Yeah. Or now it's time for a massage, or
that's self-discipline, right? That self-discipline is hard to teach.
It's very hard to teach, right? So,
but you can model it if you watch somebody doing it. And I know you've had some good influences. Like, obviously your mom's been in that position your whole life, entrepreneur, running a mortgage business. You've did similar, but I know you've had other mentors, and
Simeon's been a great mentor for me, right? Watching him. So he's very similar. He's in the office every single day. And when I got my license, the first thing I did for a month straight was drive downtown Toronto and sit next to him. Yeah. Whether I had work to do or not, I sat next to him and I listened to him on calls. I listened to his partner Jazz on calls. Yeah. Right. And
seeing how they get it done. Yeah.
just listen, man. And then anytime they needed something, I'm there. Right. So now it's, hey, Jake, can you do this for me? Sure. No problem. Yeah. Right. And whether they invited me to the office or not, I was there for
the old fly on the wall routine.
That's it. And it's so important, right? So anybody that comes and works with us now, for 1 month, they're next to me, or they're next to Zach, or they're next to
they're in the
Brooke,
office,
or whoever, right? And it's, even if they have absolutely nothing to do, I just want them sitting there.
Right? Yeah, because you learn by osmosis. Yep. If you're around it, you pick stuff up. I used to do the same thing with your mom. I'd go into her office and try and learn from her, and just see the mindset. It's contagious, right? You learn these things.
It. And then just to get back to the original question, so I think self-discipline is probably the biggest thing to in the sales industry, because there is free time, right? It's completely commission based. You do what you want to do, but I treat it like a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 7. But
8 to 7,
I think you have to. I think you have to have those routines, right? Call it time blocking, call it whatever you want. For me, it's just, I know every morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be in the office Monday to Friday. Yeah. Right. I found that's very successful. And then the other, I think, biggest thing for me was finding a niche.
Right? I think that was huge. Yeah. Not to be skimmed over. So yeah, for sure, taking it seriously, I think that's a huge part of it. You're very niche focused.
Yeah. And I wanted to do niche second, because I'm following my journey through real estate. Yeah. Right. And everybody should have that niche as well. Yeah. But for me, it's been, so I started out and I did whatever I want, right? Some houses, some of this, some of that, right? Made like $50K in my first year in real estate, right? And at that point,
which is better than most realtors by far.
Yeah, worse than some, better than some, whatever, right? I honestly did like 2 residential deals in Burlington.
I think something like the average realtor like does 1 deal or something a year. Like, it's not much.
Yeah. There's a lot of realtors that don't do anything. Right? Yeah. So, but that's where it started for me. Is my first year in, made 50K, 40, whatever, in and around that range. I don't remember exactly, but it, And I was running around doing showings, open houses every weekend, flyers, door knocking, like balls to the wall, trying everything, right? And it just didn't work for me. I was like, this is not what I want to do. I'm working on my weekends. I'm working on my evenings. And because for me, the challenge was I was doing the 9 to 5 in the office, and then I would get home and my phone starts ringing.
Yeah, you keep going.
And then on the weekends, my phone rings, and I go, well, where's me time, right?
There is none if you're on that full grind. The nice thing with the commercial side of things is the weekends are still a possibility, right? A lot of people in the commercial space.
Yeah.
Well, I know you do end up working weekends too. Yeah. So you're in, like, this is what I said. Like, you're in that business building portion of your career where you're really just doing whatever it takes to keep that building. Now, the challenge with that is there is a time where you're not going to want to do that to that degree. Which you obviously have to have a plan for.
Yeah. And then, so from there, I went into commercial. So that was my first niche. I brought my world from everything to commercial.
Yeah.
Right. And as soon as I became the commercial guy, that's when things started to change. And I didn't even have a niche within commercial. I just said commercial. Right.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, everybody at my brokerage, being Ruth Roy LePage.
Now you're the guy they ask.
Now I'm all of a sudden the commercial guy.
Yeah.
Right. And all I did was put the word out there, Facebook. I got everybody on the team to basically connect with everybody else, saying that I'm the commercial guy, right? So within the year of being the commercial guy, and I still did residential and everything, I started getting referral business, a lot of referral business, right?
Yeah.
People from the office would call me, hey, Jake, I'm trying to do a lease, like a commercial lease. How do I do this? And I would just say, well, listen, why don't I just do it for you for 50%?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's too complicated for me to explain.
Yeah.
Right? So I kind of like built that like veil of commercial. And it worked really, really well. And then, so that was my second year in. That's when I kind of hit that, that goal. And I whatever that goal is, I'm not going to throw numbers out there, but I hit that goal for me where I was like, okay, this is something I can build a career off of now.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, my first goal was always, okay, I want to just make more in this than I would at a 9 to 5 office job.
Yeah.
Right. So hit that goal doing commercial. And then from there, I found that I was wasting time on residential stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I'd have 3-4 commercial deals going, and then I'd be listing a house, and the house would take 95% of my time because, number one, I didn't enjoy it. Number two, I wasn't set up for it. Right. I got a guy that can install a 24-foot sign on the side of the highway, but I didn't have a guy that could put a stick in the lawn with a sign.
That's hilarious.
Right. So it's just like totally different things. So I think it was year 3, I decided to fully stop residential 100%.
Yeah. Well, you still have your people on your team do it, right?
And I'll get there. Yeah. And so, but not for family, not for friends. Like, I just stopped. Right? Yeah. And that was probably the best thing I could have ever done because I tripled my income that year. And it was life-changing at that point because I was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're on the track, right? So, and I didn't want to lose that business. So yes, I partnered up with a residential team, right? So myself and Brooke, right? Any residential business that comes in the house goes straight to Brooke, and vice versa. She feeds me a lot of commercial business.
Yeah.
But it freed up a lot of my time, allowed me to grow that commercial side more. And then from there, we started building the team out. And what I personally feel is unique about my team is that we all have a niche.
Yeah.
Everybody. So I'm the multifamily guy, right? Like, I work just multifamily
and
deals.
Mixed use too, right?
Mixed use. I do some industrial, and it's grown over the years, but it was originally just multifamily. And then I have a guy I brought in last year, Dak Sesh, just hotels.
Hotel,
motel.
That's cool.
No campgrounds, hotel, motel, right? And he crushes. It's great. And then I brought in a lady, Shawnette, who I kind of educated in the space, and she got really attracted to like land banking, land development, stuff like that. And then in year 2, now she's doing, massive, 200 acre parcels of land for 200 million or whatever. Right?
Did you really?
Yeah, like huge deals. So, so everybody that comes in, I just say, listen, you can do what you want, but find a niche, and that's how we're going to brand you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where
at least people will know where to look. Yeah. And I think people, so many people want to just be everything to everyone. Like, oh, well, if I niche down, then people who want this won't come to me anymore. But it rarely works that way. Like maybe you can get in theoretically to too small of a niche, but if you're the expert in an area, people need experts. They don't need generalists.
It's about being true to yourself, right? Like I was on a call yesterday and a lady called me for a mandate, right? And she's like, hey, I'm looking for this and I'm looking within the GTA. And my first response to her was, hey, listen, I'm happy to help you, but I don't work in Toronto. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not my thing. I didn't grow up there. I don't know the neighborhoods that well. Yes, I take listings. I have some stuff in Toronto for some very good clients, but I'm not going to go take on a buying mandate for a particular business in Toronto. I go, it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
Right. And my colleague called me after and he's like, why did you say that? Like, you're limiting your sphere. And then she called me back and she goes, great. I'm actually happy you don't work in Toronto. She goes, I'm going to give you a mandate for all of Southwestern Ontario. Mm-hmm. Signs the paper. Let's go.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's like, and she was like, thank you for being honest. Right. She goes, because I would have known that you're not from Toronto. I would have figured it out anyways. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just being true to yourself and what you know.
Yeah.
And if you stick in that lane, it will come to you.
That takes time to figure out what where your natural fit is, right? Like it comes over time. So that's what kind of led you to now. And I know, like, if it's like a local, like a smaller, like multifam, if it's in Burlington, maybe you might help somebody, but otherwise you're pretty much, everybody is delegated to the team.
Yeah, and I work on I work on stuff in Burlington. I work on stuff, like, I still am out quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to be working on in the next, call it 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. Is getting it so that my team's in a position to take out those leads. Yeah. Go tour, go show, go write offers. And I'm here to help out where they need.
Yeah.
Which would then free up some time for me to go invest. Right.
Yeah. I mean, what you're doing is pretty cool. And yes, there's definitely opportunity to take that money and go do something with it more. Like, I know the passive side of thing is obviously working out well for you, right? Yeah, because you're not like the big spender kind of guy.
No,
you make the money, but you don't know, you're not the guy that's spending everything you make. Yeah, which is fantastic. So
maybe that's part of where the success is as well, right? It's I'm being not going frugal, out and buying the Ferrari or the Lamborghini or whatever. Like it's I got my GMC. That's my dream car. I'm happy with it. Like,
pickup truck.
Got my pickup truck.
That's all you need,
right? And so yeah, but then outside of that, like, we have the campground together, right? So we are doing some active stuff there.
So that, that's one of those things that it like directly takes away from your time. When we get involved in this, and I think when we started this endeavor, you approached me just over 2 years ago at this very moment to say, hey, I found something, it looks good. Because we've been talking about scalable business. We didn't want to invest in and you've recently sold your cottage. Because one didn't make sense for you. It didn't make sense to have one cottage. You can't scale that. Yeah. You're gonna set operations up unless you buy many more. But then you've got that slow burr process, or you're gonna need to constantly take investor dollars. Exactly. And neither of those seemed that great. So when the idea of the camp came up, we're like, okay, glamping works, and we can scale that. Like, we can see what kind of money this region can generate.
It was opportunistic as well, right? We were in a down market. We bought the camp. It was like right in COVID, like middle of COVID.
I wouldn't call it down. I mean, it was a nuts market. It was a nuts market.
It was, it was multifamily was through the roof.
Yeah.
Right. No deals were making sense. People were doing 100% private financing.
Yeah.
The banks wouldn't touch it because it just didn't, like, the debt service.
Yeah. Crap. Things were going crazy.
And we were all multifamily guys originally, looking for multifamily, going, this doesn't work. Right. Like, I'm not going to compete with my clients. I'd rather sell my client the good one I find. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of got thinking, we're like, well, what is down right now? What is having a hard time? And it was hospitality, right? And that's where this deal popped up, where I'm like, okay, this probably would have sold for double last year. We're in kind of a down market for hospitality right now. Let's look at this opportunity. And that's when I brought it to you guys and said, hey, check this out. Right, I think we can turn this into something very cool.
I didn't realize it would have been higher. I mean, I thought we were paying the guy for what he had, a fair chunk. I think the deal made sense for us, just knowing what we wanted to do. Yeah. And in the first year, we surpassed his income that he did with a camp. Now, granted, we invested in it. We bought trailers. The glamping model,
a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and we've since tripled the glamping income. Yeah. I can see that. Like we're on the verge of tripling it this year, and it depends on what comes in, but it's looking like we're in that territory. So I think we've got a lot that we should pat ourselves on the back for. But then there's also that side where we set very aggressive goals each year. And whenever we don't hit them, I think it's disappointing.
And I think we're all very hard on ourselves.
Oh, 100%.
Right? All four of us, because we very rarely sit back and go, oh, like good income or good year.
Yeah.
I'm sure at the end of the season, we'll all sit down and
Well, we'll look at what it is, like just comparatively. And like the big thing in our business, for those who don't know what we have it's a bylaw approved for 70 sites, campsite just south of Tobermory. And we have a glamping operation on that site. And it's still open for September, by the way. Great time to go glamping. But so basically, we've got 28 glamping units on that site as of this year, including trailers, really cool tents / yurts, depending on what you want to call them. And our vibe is just quiet and tranquil. Like we're dead center. If you want to go to Lion's Head, you want to go to Grotto, all that stuff. So that was like, when you brought it to me, that was the big thing. Yep. It was like, oh, holy crap. Like we can be right in the middle of this tourist mecca, and we'll be that home base. And the things that we don't have, like we have a pond, but we don't have a lake you can swim in. There's a lake not far. Yeah. But it's like everything's off the site that you're going to do. Yeah. And that's kind of who we cater to. So it's not really like we're catering to families with kids, because they're probably going to want playgrounds and stuff. We don't have that.
I wouldn't call it a resort, right? It's
an experience for sure. Yeah. And we get a lot of, like couples and, people wanting to do yoga in their tent and, Instagram it and all that stuff. Yep. And we've sort of found our little niche. This is our second year operating. First year was a partial season. We launched June 20th. Mm-hmm. We launched 2 listings for glamping. And now we're up at 28, and that's happened over the course of this year too. And the thing I've noticed is your first year when you launch these, like it takes a while to get 3 reviews to even show a rating. Yeah. And then we didn't have our super host in the first season. This year we did.
First year's tough, man. It's that build-up period. You got
first year on any listing is tough. Yeah. On any listing. So
first year in any business, because this again is an active business.
It is. Right? And we've built a team, so we have I think we have 9 employees right now, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. 5 of them are full time at the moment. Yep. But it's a seasonal business, so our payroll will go from could be $30,000 in the peak to 0 in the off season. Yep. So it's an interesting business to be in. I don't think either of us fully saw the scope of what we were going to do. I remember my sentiment being, I'm like, Jake, this is going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, and it is. Yeah. And it is, right? I don't want to sugarcoat that. And anytime anybody asks me about it, because I try to cut through, I cut the BS. Yeah. Right? Let's be real. We're in the world of Instagram and TikTok, right? There's a lot of BS. Yeah. So I try to cut through that every time somebody asks me, like, well, how's the camp going? I'm like, it's awesome. Like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. I go, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, right? I have people asking. I'm like, I don't recommend it.
No, and that's it, right? Like, we're doing very well because, again, we all 4 of us work extremely hard at what we're doing, and we all have good work ethic, and we're all coming from a business background. But for somebody that works a full-time 9-to-5 job to say, I'm going to go do this because it looks cool or looks fun or it might be a good investment, I really ask them to think about it, because it is a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure it is. I'm big on more recently that like bend don't break. Like if you apply pressure to yourself, you put yourself in situations that you will bend but you won't break. It makes you stronger. Yep. And I knew this was going to be a situation where we did our due diligence, to a degree. We knew what to expect. There was a whole lot of unknown. Of course. And we went into that situation knowing it was going to be work, but also knowing that we would find a way through that. One of the first things we did was bring in another partner who was attached to another partner, which is how we ended up with 4. Yeah. And that ended up being a great thing. Zach is a very important part of our business and what we do. Yeah. And, thank God we have him in the business. Yeah. But with that said, if say we didn't, so Zach handles, for anyone who doesn't know, which is probably most. Zach handles like our entire hospitality backend, Airbnb, like the booking, you know, the interface. He's oversees. He's the tech guy, so to speak, but really just manages that side of things. I'm more of the you know, financial oversight plus, you know, oversight of the business from like a high level. Jake and Mike do everything else in between. Everything else.
We're the gophers.
Yeah.
But I think, and I'll speak for myself because I don't know if you like doing the financial side of it, Andrew, but like I love doing the running around. Like I actually do enjoy that. Right?
Yeah.
Like Mike and I are later this week, we're going to go bring the trailer up, go to site, help out a little bit, you know.
Yeah. I love getting on site, man.
That's enjoyable, right?
I would love to do more of that. No, I'm not a desk guy. Like I can do the numbers. Like I think I'm analytical by nature, but I'm also stir crazy in a way. Like I don't like sitting behind a desk and, a typical 9 to 5, I don't think would ever work for me.
Yeah.
So you know my schedule here. You see me.
Yeah, you're in and out.
I'm in and out. Yeah. So I do work from home a bit. I work from here. I like to be able to get that space and that separation like you do. Yeah. I like a place where this is just business here. Like, you know, home things get clouded. Like, oh, can you come downstairs and help with,
that's why since day one I've always worked out in office, right? It's similar to people that are like, when I work from home, I leave my shoes on. Yeah. I don't know if you ever heard that.
No, never heard that. Yeah.
I know a few people and they're like, when I'm at home working, my shoes are on because I'm at work.
Oh, okay.
And
that makes sense.
When I'm at work, my shoes are on.
That makes sense.
And so it's just those little like mind games, right? So it's like when I'm here, I live 5 minutes down the road, right? It's not like I'm driving downtown Toronto every day or commuting. Like I can go home for lunch and come back.
Right.
But for me, this is work, right? Yeah. And I try to work very hard and leave work here. So then when I go home, I'm more engaged at home. And I don't want to blur those lines. That's a big thing important for me, right? And it's something I'm working on. I've not mastered that whatsoever. I'm actually quite bad at it right now. Yeah. So I'm hoping and again, that's another goal for me is in the next,
get better
let's
with
call
that.
it 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. I really do want to have a better separation there.
And the thing I find that happens, and it happened for me, and maybe it'll take you having kids to figure this out, but like you have to weigh everything once your time is just restricted. Like picture you have 1/10 the time you have now. Yeah. And you want to maintain your current level of earnings. You have to make some hard decisions. And when put into that position, another bend not break situation, you will just find a way to cut the fat. Yeah. And a lot of that is delegation. And the thing I find it quite exciting to watch my ability to buy my time back, buy my life back a little bit. Like you never fully get it back once you have kids, but you can get rid of a lot of the stuff. Like anything that you can explain to somebody, you should delegate. Yeah. If you can't explain the task to somebody, then that's a sign that it should be you that does it. Yeah. And like, for instance, dealing with other realtors, dealing with clients, you can't explain how to build rapport. So that's a feel thing. So that's something that you could do. Yeah. And then also seek out the talent that can do that, where you can hand that stuff off. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing. Like with the camp, one of the things I liked about it being far away is like, there's no way we could run it ourselves. So we bring in management. We got fortunate. We got a good set of managers that came in, and we've built a team around them. And they've been the major builders of that team. For sure. And that's great for us. So for people who want some context, it was about a $1.5 million purchase. And we've got those 28 glamping sites, plus we've got camping, smaller, scaled down camping. Our best performers are probably including HST on the season, bringing in close to 30 on a single glamping site. Some of the newer stuff were, in the 5 to 10 range on the season. Yeah. And then we've got, last year's top performing tents, for instance, surpassing $20,000.
What is our top performer?
The top performer right now is Jake's vintage Airstream.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't a plug for me, I promise.
It was a neck and neck race, but it came back. And the big thing with that is people search for Airstreams. So I think that's why it does better. And it looked cool. It's on a cool site. We've brought in a bunch of other stuff that's not a vintage Airstream, but I mean, people aren't looking for that necessarily. Yep. I think what we do have is just like really picturesque sites. Yeah. We also have another one. It was a trailer we picked up for like $7,000.
That was the first trailer.
Yeah. We started off calling it the Terry, and because it was a Terry brand. and it was renovated by somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's done, I think it's like 24,000 this year, which is for like, think about that.
It's a functional trailer.
Think about that. A trailer that cost 6,000, we paid 2,500 to paint it.
Yeah.
And it's, so, you know, the ROI on that trailer, if you look at it in isolation, is great.
And the funny thing is that one, so Mike and I went to go see that in a snowstorm, our other partner. Yeah. We get there, and they failed to mention that I had hail damage.
Yeah.
So it's literally the whole front of it's like,
it's all dented. Yeah.
It's covered in craters. And we're like, okay, screw it. So we got them, I think they wanted like 10. We got them down to 7.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So
Mike's a good negotiator.
Yeah. Like the trailer light brake didn't work. So I'm towing it, and like there's no trailer. Like it was totally sketch. But we painted it, made it look much better. The inside was gorgeous from day one. And it's a good size. It's a functional size. The inside is totally refreshed. And then the outside now we painted, and it looks great.
The funny thing is, like, to think that a tent could earn 20,000 plus in a season, and we have multiple that have done that this year, and it's crazy. Like, I mean, there's a huge hospitality element. We have a big staff and overhead and all that, so like they need to perform. But it's great to know that you can do that with a tent, with canvas. It's $800
but
tent.
I don't want you to sell our seller so short, Andrew, because I think it's. We offer an experience.
Oh, it's incredible. No, and I'm not trying. And I'm not trying
I know.
Like, check out the photos for anyone who hasn't. Like, at the Grotto Getaway Glamp on Instagram, or you can go to grottogetaway.com. Check out the photos of these things. Like, they're crazy cool. And I would happily stay in them. We decorate them. We're over a $10,000 investment on most of our tents. And so the canvas is cheap. The deck is not, the decorations aren't, the way we do it. And then of course, the way we run the site is, there's so much to it. And I think what we've done is really cool.
Yeah. It's unique. It's a unique alternative to staying at a hotel.
And also a cost-effective one.
And a cost-effective one, right? Because let's be realistic. You look at what's available up in Tobermory, it's usually like a motel, right? Yeah. There's no, I could be wrong, but I don't think there's
not much in the way of hotels.
There, right?
No, there's like nothing.
So
it's Airbnbs.
A lot of Airbnbs. Yeah. And then you have your motels.
Yeah.
Or probably the next one down. And then after that, there's really not much, right? Or you bring your own trailer. So we have a unique opportunity to say, well, it's not just affordable, but now it's also a very unique stay. Yeah. Right. And I think that's the selling feature for us.
100%. So you got the combination of something that can't be copied, which is our location. And then the unique thing, like other people could replicate our tents. I've already seen it. People have already copied what we've done in certain locations. Not that it worries me, and they haven't done it exactly like us. Don't get me wrong. But you combine all that, so we've got this very unique stay where our bylaw, our zoning works really well for us. We're right near Lion's Head, right near the Grotto, right near Tobermory downtown, and all those things together. That was what we were excited about from the beginning. Yeah. That this ability to scale it, and when we're talking our partner meetings, it's the quest to $1 million in revenue. That's the goal, and we're working towards that. At which point, we can decide what we want to do. But our ability to refinance it, or get higher valuations, to exit, to no matter what, building that asset to that level of revenue makes sense for us.
Yeah,
and sure. I see the path to it, but of course, as we do this, we keep investing more money, and it's a cash intense business, because everything we want to do, it's like we're just shoveling money into it. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I said forking. We're shoveling. So it's an exciting business. It keeps us on our toes. It's nice that it settles down and we can have the winter off. Yeah. But would you say this year you've been less stressed or more stressed throughout the summer season because of that?
Can I say equivalently stressed?
Yeah.
Different reasons.
Yeah, I guess
Better
the stressors
reasons.
change.
Better
The stressors
reasons to be
change.
stressed about.
Yeah. Like, one thing's for sure, like one of the things I'm really proud of is we got approval for new financing, which we're about to close. Yep. Based on our first year's performance and projections. Yeah. Like, they couldn't even qualify us on the first, and they liked our business so much that they approved us on projections. Yeah. So with a big bank, I was not expecting this. Like, we were throwing up a Hail Mary saying, hey, we might as well try. We were not expecting it. And then we got that approved. So that was huge.
Yep.
And I'm really excited about that.
And now we're by no means we're in the clear, but it's kind of the home stretch now to say, okay, we're going to stabilize with the mortgage. Now we have our business model down. We know how to operate the site. We know what we're doing. Now it's just about expanding, growing, and continuing to replicate.
And then another consideration is like we're at 28 glamping units. They didn't have a full season. As we add more units to the Tobermory supply, we actually drive our own prices down to a degree because there's more selection.
Well, so that's why we got to start adding different units.
Being different.
That's the fun, exciting thing we're working on now in the background is, okay, so we've done the tents. The tents are cool. They work.
Yeah.
We've done the trailers. We have some gazebos that we've retrofitted. They were there previously. But what now can we add? What is the next cool... So we're looking at like dome tents. We're looking at
the dome huts. Tents where you can see the stars. From the beginning, I've been saying we got to put something on that pond.
We got
a floating. We need a floating tent. A floating dock with a tent, or houseboat. Yeah,
floating dock with a tent scares me.
We'd pretty much have to crane a houseboat in though. Like, I don't know how else we're getting it on that pond. But yes, this is the type of thing that, I think could go really well for us going forward. And it's just a matter of, when we spend that money, because to me, it also does seem kind of appealing to take next year as let's take a lap. Let's let what we have stabilize, and then let's aggressively grow it for the following year.
Yeah, because the nice thing is, even if we didn't add a single thing for next year, because there's the saying, if you're not growing, you're failing or you're dying.
But we will still grow.
But we will still grow because we've had sites that were only open for a bit, or sites that haven't even been opened. Like we had, I think we had 3-4 that didn't open this year.
We do have at least 3 more tent sites that didn't open this year. Yeah. And the hard thing with that is you can't take photos until June.
Exactly.
Because otherwise there won't be leaves. Well, you can do end of May.
Yeah.
But that puts us a little bit behind. And then, of course, that whole year is going to be slightly compromised. We're not going to do as well.
So it's almost, it's a full year from when you plan to when you can actually start reaping the benefit.
Yeah. It can be like
to
fully
or I should say to maximize the value.
To maximize. Yeah. So the nice thing about coming into a season with the superhost status and a whole bunch of units that all have at least 3 reviews is that now we'll have people more ready to book them, right? They can read a few reviews, see, it's new. Overall, it seems like people like it. Okay, I'll book it too.
Yeah.
And another cool thing that I know we weren't expecting is people booking through our website, which you don't see the reviews on Airbnb with that, but that's obviously good
it's
for
nice
us.
To have direct.
It's good for us, and it's good for the guests because they save money on the booking fees. So my big thing with next year is I would like to see what we have stabilize. I mean, of course, we'll probably still implement the growth plan, but if we were to pause it for 1 year and just grow what we already have,
it's not a bad idea.
I wouldn't be totally upset.
And I'd say maybe like what I'd like to see for next year, if that's where we're going with this, is very similar. I'd like to let things stabilize a little bit now that we have the mortgage in place, but I'd also like to use it as an experimental year to say, how would a dome tent do?
Yeah, what if we throw
one?
So the idea would be we're cutting a path in where it's like backwoods glamping, and I think that'd be the next cool thing. And we've got the space for it. And again, I don't even worry about sharing this because
it's unique. It's unique to
our location can't be copied. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if somebody does it in Timbuktu or, on the other side of Toronto.
We're going to have to hire a full-time staff for mosquito control if we cut into the woods.
Yeah. I need that staff to come to my house too, apparently.
It's been bad. But yeah, I'd love to experiment, try a dome, a shepherd hut, a whatever, right? And then compare and contrast, say, okay, so now we need to double down on the dome.
Yeah, one of the things I think that we were a little bit wrong about is we just thought trailers would in general crush, but last Thanksgiving, our tents were all sold out.
Yeah,
but we had trailer availability.
Yeah,
and we have way less at the time had way less trailers than tents. And still do.
Yeah.
It's funny, people want that memorable, Instagrammable experience.
Yeah.
And that's been our bread and butter. When they're going to Tobermory, when they're going to Lion's Head, they're posting the whole time.
Yeah.
When they're at the grotto, they're posting it.
And I see it as it is necessary to have trailers because they do book. It's like a 3-bed versus a 2-bed kind of thing, right? So yes, the 3 beds are not as in high demand.
Yeah.
And your 2 beds are going to rent out more, but you need to have some 3 beds.
Yeah, you do.
Right? Just to, and I'm talking about like bedrooms, right? Like, like apartment units or whatever, right? You still need that mix. So I'm still happy we have the trailers. Yes, they don't monetize as well as the tents.
Well, because there's more investment. They still monetize well, I would say, but you have more to recoup when you're into a trailer for 20 to 40 grand, unless you get a couple of nice buys under 10. Than you do with a tent where you're in around 10 to 12. It's a little easier to recoup. The thing on the flip side, you've got salvage value. If you want to resell that trailer one day, it's worth something to somebody else. It's a lot harder to take the deck apart and sell all that, So obviously there's pros and cons, and by no means were we trying to toot our own horn with this episode. We're just trying to share, a little shop talk of like things we talk about, what's on our mind. Has it been all sunshine and rainbows? Absolutely not. We've had some wins. We've had some hard moments, and it's not like they go away. But one of the big things to me is teaching myself and showing myself that we can build a business that we oversee, not run. And that's the goal here.
And that excites me a lot.
And we're pretty much there. Like, we're really close, but we still are involved on the high level. And we've got work to do, and that'll never be done, in my opinion.
It's all going to happen over time, right? And I preach that, and I try, like, everything I teach to my clients, I try I do myself, right? I don't try to do, I do. And it's, again, nothing's going to happen overnight here. Right. So let's be methodical about it and plan for the future and say, can we exit out of the day-to-day management in a year from now?
Well, right? I don't think we're day-to-day management, although I think Zach is far too involved on the oversight of the hospitality stuff. But I do think so. I think that by the end of next year, we could be significantly removed from, and we are looking to hire an ops manager, and that is something that's going to happen. Now, the exact timing of that, we're not sure yet going into off season here. Is it the time, or should we be waiting for spring? That's something we may pause on. But
there's also that train up period, though, right? And I know we
you got to train them. So then you're pretty much bringing them in either late fall to like let them see the site, or early spring. So there's lots to decide. One thing I will say is just like, if you're getting into a business like this, know that the private mortgage renewals hurt. Like when you're in multi-million-dollar borrowing, you kind of just got to budget for it and plan for it. Or if you can find private lenders that'll give you 2-year terms. If you know it's going to take you that long anyway, I think it's worth questioning, at least talking to the broker, and plan it well ahead. Say, what would it look like to get a 2-year rate here? What do we got to do to get a 2-year? And that way you don't get smacked with those renewal fees and lawyers and all that stuff. It's not that it's a breaker. It's just it's not fun. What are your big takeaways, or something you learned from all this, Jake? If you had to think of like one thing, or it can be more than one. From the camp, from what we've learned, something that surprised you.
All the surprises were kind of, it's things that I almost expected, but then they still surprised me, kind of things, right? Like, but I would say a lot of it has to do with more of the, not the day-to-day operations, but more of the background of the site, right? If we could go back and do one thing better, let's phase it that way. I'd say I would have loved to do a bit more investigation into the septic system and, boundaries and surveys and things like that, right? And I say that because it's something that did kind of surprise us. And then at the same time, I've heard it from multiple other camp owners who all say the same thing. They're like, when I bought it, everything was good. And then all of a sudden I realized, this is an issue, or my property line is an issue, or like, it's a very common thing. I've heard it 4 or 5 times from different camp owners. Right. So that was one big thing for me, is if we were to go forward doing this continuously, it's going to be, I'd be much more focused on the mechanicals, and then boundary lines, neighboring properties, things like that.
In fairness, we did get it all inspected, and the septic still works great. But there are some other challenges. There is no survey on this property, so we know what the municipality thinks the lines are. But
and things like that, right? Like bylaw issues now that we're having because of that, right? Like, it's small stuff in the grand scheme of things, but would have been nice to know, because when you're at full operation and you're running like crazy, and then all of a sudden that comes out of left field and hits you in the face, then it's like, oh, yeah, that's the last thing we needed right now.
It's just the nature. It's the nature of something like this. I think big takeaway I have with it is, this isn't just real estate investing. This is true business building, entrepreneurship attached to real estate, and you definitely get some of the benefits of the real estate because now you're adding value to that real estate. And when you sell something, there is something physical attached to it, right? I mean, when you sell a business, it's just a business. You're selling a brand name and client lists and stuff. I think it has a slightly different connotation in somebody's head than something that comes with a piece of land. Yeah. And, I'm excited that we can build that. So Jake, we just got to do closing thoughts here because we're running long. So entrepreneurship thoughts or any sort of key takeaways just from your investing journey so far, doesn't have to be our camp related. Anything you'd want to share with our listeners and viewers? Yeah.
Well, it's the journey I'm on as well, which is going to be mindset behind this, right? Again, if I could go back and do it again, I think my mindset would be a little bit different. And it's about thinking bigger. Yeah. I think thinking bigger has been my biggest, not issue. I don't want to say it's an issue, but it's been my biggest kind of like holding me back. Yeah. Right. And so that's my focus right now in life is like, I'm reading a lot of books. I'm talking to people. I'm trying to, with the camp again, thinking bigger. I think that's across my whole life and all my investments. Yeah. It's just thinking bigger. And it's a scary thing sometimes. It's something you don't even think about other times. But that's my biggest takeaway from everything I've learned right now in life is whatever I do, just take it 2 steps more.
If you're going to put in all the effort, why not put it in for a much bigger deal? And that's it. And that was, I think the camp was our first attempt at that. So let's keep her going. Anyways, Jake, where do people reach you?
Yeah, so Instagram, Jacob Campagnaro. Very simple. The spelling of my name will be on the show notes.
It'll be in the show notes.
That's probably the best way to reach out to me. Honestly, I post a lot of tidbits there. There's a ton of content where we're always talking about the show, REI Hot Seat.
Yeah, REI Hot Seat. Make sure you're following that show. It's on YouTube only at the moment. That may change, but for now it's a YouTube only. It is a video only show.
Yeah. So either there or you can go to reccanada.com and that will be a direct link to the commercial page, which reaches me as well. So that's, if you want to do a website, go there. But Instagram, Jacob Campagnaro.
Cool. All right, easy. Jake, thanks for doing this. Thanks, and we'll be recording an episode of REI Hot Seat soon. There are a lot of people out there talking about the infinite banking strategy and whether or not it makes sense for them. To find out what it's all about and if it's a fit for you, visit controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines, where my audience can gain exclusive access to books, podcasts, and webinars tailor-made for real estate investors.